Hello, hello.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Okay. Factory, you do it by open chromatin. So it's just a sequencing has a lot of power. Whatever you attach to it, makes it interesting, right? Anyway. Okay, we'll cover the methylation sequencing tomorrow. All right, so the less accessible region will look like this, and more accessible region will look like this. So wherever this is, there will be no peak. There's an open chromatin, there'll be a peak. Open chromatin, peak, open chromatin, peak. Very simple, okay? This is a one-step process. This is a very simple one-step reaction, and that's why everybody's adopted, because it's easy peasy, right? You take a reaction, put it in your thing, it makes the adapter, you isolate it, and you sequence it. Very simple. Okay? So ATAC-seq had taken the world by storm at some point. Okay. 3D chromatin organization. I will talk about ATAC-seq tomorrow, and also I want you guys to take you to the step. The concept is the same. Okay, 3D chromatin organization. This is the interface nucleus. If we focus on one region, you can see something like this. Okay. This is called topologically associated domain, TAD domains. That's fundamental, one of the fundamental things to 3D chromatin organization. I told you guys earlier, looping mechanisms are key or the basic unit of 3D chromatin organization. Once you loop, so within a TAD domain, can you see multiple loops? Sort of, somewhere. It appears that TAD domains have many loops like this, what you see, okay? So it is made of many loops together. The next layer is called TAD domain. Loops is the lowest unit. And what happens within this? Two regions come together, A and B here, intrachromosomal interaction. They can be mega bases away, kilo bases away, many, many bases away, okay? That's how we talked about enhancers doing it, right? Then there are interactions between two different major domains, right? Something like what is shown on the thing. So that's a next interchromosomal interaction. So basically, yellow was chromosome 1, blue was chromosome 2. There are regions between two chromosomes that interact in the interface, okay? So you could have regions that are in chromosome 1 regulate the genes that are in chromosome 2. It happens all the time. Okay? It doesn't happen as often as, of course, the regions that are in proximity. It happens. So linear conformation was that. The 3D loop conformation is that. So now it brings the red element close to the blue element, right? Red element was could be an enhancer, could be an insulator, could be X, Y, Z, anything. It just brings two things together. So what was bound to red now can access blue, okay? Or what was bound to blue can access the red. So that allows two regions to interact together, regulatory proteins that bind in the two regions to regulate the genes far apart, okay? And their gene goes up, gene goes down. How do you identify this? This is called Hi-C, a technology called Hi-C, which is what I was telling you earlier. Eric Lender published his first paper in 2009 with a technology called Hi-C. So we were able to get genome-wide glimpse into how 3D chromatin organization at the genome-wide level. Okay? How does this work? Okay. how it works is, simplistically, it's a little complicated, so I'm trying to think about how to explain this to you guys easier. I do have another slide. I can put up another presentation where I can explain Hi-C a little better, probably. But think about this, what we've got here, right? A loop, a bowl, noodle in a bowl, okay? We do something called cross-linking, just like everywhere else, right? Cross-linking brings the two things that are in proximity together through a formalin, CHO bond, right? Okay, formaldehyde bonds, essentially. So these two regions can come together. That's what is showing by black, okay? Now what I do is I use a restriction enzyme that frequently cuts in the genome. A restriction enzyme. What is a restriction enzyme? Known sequences. A restriction enzyme that will cut at a 6 base pair region will be less frequent in the genome than a restriction enzyme that cuts with a 4 bases, right? Did I make the right statement or wrong statement? Right? Because the frequency of a 4 base pair restriction site is larger than the 6 base pair restriction site. So we use a restriction enzyme that cuts 4 bases so that we can cut frequently, okay? An enzyme that is used frequently on this is called Hindi3, and there are others, okay? Basically, so you cut it, so you get these fragments. You get this? Hindi3 is probably not a 4 base pair cutter, by the way, so there might be a but nonetheless, you cut it with an enzyme to make it like things look like this, which you're looking, which is good. You got this, right? You guys got it? Then I think he's made it wrong, to be honest. But you fill it with something called DC, a biotin labeled DCTP. So you do a filling reaction in the end by putting something called biotin labeled cytosine, CTP. Okay. So basically, biotin is what? You guys know what is biotin? Biotin binds to beads called streptavidin beads. There's a very strong reaction between streptavidin and biotin. If you don't know this, go look it up. Okay. So you can fill up the region with a biotin labeled DCTP. You fill that up, and then you do a ligation under dilution conditions. So only the regions that are ligated, that are next to each other, gets diluted. Okay. Maybe I need to do a better explanation of that. Dilution under ligation under dilution conditions. So ligation under dilution conditions will only happen if the two regions are in close proximity. That was the key to this. People figured out that if you, let's say, normally we do these reactions in like 10 microliter, 20 microliter, but if you do it in a 1 ml reaction, okay, then you're gonna only preferentially ligate things that are next to each other. That was the fundamental to this. So you do ligation under that kind of condition. So you ligate, you now take out everything else, and you got a DCTP, remember? So you can pull down that region that has biotin tag filled in, right? And you get these regions, and then you go in and sequence it. All right? So what were we looking for? We were looking for things that are in close proximity. That was the objective in this method. Things that are next to each other, and not do those that are not next to each other. So you did two things. One, you cross-linked first, and then you did the ligation of the DCTP, that reaction under dilution conditions, okay? And you got this, you filled the dot DCTP ligation, I'm sorry, the ligation of two fragments, okay? So two fragments get ligated with each other. That's what it's trying to show, okay? So when you now sequence from one end versus another end, one end maps to a region which is here, okay? And the other end breaks to the region that is on the other end. So now by mapping that, and saying, okay, this was in this position and this was in this position, now I know these two positions actually interacted with each other, right? So you created a fusion transcript by ligation and a dilution condition. Does that make sense? Okay, so this ligation here happened between these two, right? And he created these. So now you filter out reads that are just looking to one. You don't take them. You take only the reads that are a fusion, that are in two different spots in the genome, and that's how you get it. Once you do that, the map becomes something like this, a triangular pyramidal map. Do you understand any of that? No. What does that tell you is the reads. I'm trying to see how to explain this better. Okay, so when you map these sequences, right, what you go see is something called interaction frequency. Interaction frequency of will be of this region to this region here, and you essentially are plotting on the y-axis. So this is usually a square. Let me actually let me do it tomorrow. I think I have better slides than this. But this is contact maps, and this essentially what this means is that wherever the triangle ended, there are a lot of interactions within that triangle. That's what it means. Okay, I'll do a better job tomorrow. I need to figure out. I have a slide deck somewhere on this. So basically, in this region and this region, these two regions interact at frequencies here. So anything between this region, interaction frequencies here. Okay, but this region does not interact here because there is no contact. Okay, this region interacts within this domain here. This is called a TED domain. Those triangles are TED domains because within those TED domains there are a lot of interactions. Remember, we looked at that, right? Like, not a great job. I'm sorry. Need to do better. Here. So you see how many interactions are there, right? So you will see a lot more interaction within a certain region. So that triangle essentially represents this. So there are lots of loops within that. So each of those dots, red dots in that is actually a loop. Get it? Okay. And these, whatever you see here, these looping, there are many of those inside this, right? So you're going to get a lot of such interactions in the triangle. You did not understand that. Okay, next time, let me do a better job next time, okay? But basically, what you can try to remember for your level right now is to say this triangle, there are a lot of interactions. Anything that is deep red is essentially contact frequency. How frequently those two regions will contact with each other. That's what it is. So it is TED domain here, TED domain here, and there is much smaller number of interactions because that's all. So this is the contact frequency. You see this, low to high, right? So there is low interactions here, there are higher number of interactions here. And the whole genome is like this. So within that domain, that's it. As I said, there are multiple interactions within that. I'll explain this better next time, okay? Let me get my slide deck. I think I do have a better slide deck. This is how it looks normally. So this is represented here in a 6 MB resolution. Okay, again, it's not going to be easy because this is a tough method to actually explain. This is how, within that domain, if you go deeper into this, this is how it looks. You see this checkered pattern? This pattern is within each of these. This is now here. Okay. That's at, and then within each of these is these. So at a lower resolution, you can see these contexts that show you these loops. So you see the loops here, right? These loops are here. These loops, when they assemble over each other like this, then they're here. So they are interacting at different places. So anything where there's a red means there is an interaction, right? High, deep red. Where there's a light red, there is not as much an interaction. Okay? And then when these make bigger, these are called chromosome territory. So we have these, within these we have these, and within these we have these. Okay. So many of these make this, and many of these will make this. And our whole chromosomes are in compartments. In compartment A, compartment B. So that's what it's showing on this side. Okay. Compartment A is euchromatin, compartment B is equivalent to heterochromatin. So in compartment A, there is always positive interaction, like there is open interactions, and then compartment B there is heterochromatic regions. Very simple. It always tracks with that. Okay, so that's a bigger compartment size. We saw that, right? I mean, in electron microscope, you see dark places and you see not so dark places. Not so dark are euchromatin. Those euchromatin will actually make a separate sort of structure, and heterochromatin is a separate sort of structure, which makes sense. Does it? No, right? Sure. Now within heterochromatin, when you go in, you see more deeper interactions like this, and in euchromatin, you see interactions like this. As I said, I'll try to do a better job of Hi-C. Hi-C is the key technology that actually has discovered all the 3D chromatin structures. So I think we need to better understand it. It is not easy. It was never easy for me to understand when it came out. So it takes its time. I think it's not everybody. I mean, not people like me are not very good at explaining this. Let's just put it that way. And it is dynamic. So at one time it will be this, and another time it will be this. It's actually not entirely true. A lot of, these chromatin interactions tend to be very stable normally, but in some places it will be dynamic. Okay, and when it's dynamic, it's going to change the interaction levels, which you can